Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Sunday, the 28th of December. This is a video that'll go up Monday at 2 p.m. I don't want to call it my backup channel, but my backup channel, Apocalypse Now, is under threat of being demonetized because I'm not posting there. So what I'm going to end up doing is post short videos there. Like I'll take one little whatever news item. It'll be like a 5 or 10 minute video, and I'll do that. Pretty much every other day, every day, whatever it is. Like so, 5, 6 times a week probably. And so, people who like just short videos, they'll be there. So maybe that'll even probably be a good thing. Give a little boost to everything. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw this post. Anti-Semitism is known as the oldest hatred. We hear it in tasteless jokes based on cultural cliches and stereotypes. We see acts of hatred and violence against Jewish people in the news and more. Why has anti-Semitism hung over humanity's head for so many thousands of years? In this powerful booklet, Rabbi John Burness answers this question and explains the biblical history of when anti-Semitism began and why there is still such a hatred toward Jewish people today. Why Satan hates the Jews, the spiritual roots of anti-Semitism. And there's another one. But let me talk about this one first, because I'm going to share the website in a second. Well, let me show you the other thing here. Misled about Israel, get the biblical and historical truth that challenges today's headlines. See the truth, download the guide now. So this is the second thing. I should also say that somebody sent me a video, and, I'd covered this reality TV show with Erica J. Kirk. And it appeared that she was, when I searched for the episodes she was in, or when I searched for the episode she was in, ChatGTP or whatever it was, only found one episode. But she was actually in a follow-up episode where she went on a date with this gay dude. It was actually kind of funny. The show was a little bit funny. It's really degraded, though. It's not like something I could watch, as a show. But, some of the people are a little bit funny. They're all kind of, they're just like elitist, rich, young people who are just stupid and depraved. Like a little bit edgier than, say, like the Kardashians. And it's a really gross show, and she wanted to be on it, right? So I have a bunch of clips to go through. They copyright you, on the show does. So I have to show little bits of the clips, but I'll do that in a bit. All right, so let me go to the websites here. So there was a post from PragerU that popped up on my channel for no reason. Like there's nothing there that you would indicate that I want to be re-educated about Israel, right? Like the things are probably just the opposite because there's some Facebook pages. There are a couple like Jewish people for, Palestine or something, or for peace or something like that. These are people who are Jewish who are against what's going on with their government and their treatment of the Palestinian people. So there's a few people I subscribe to. I have a few friends that are, that post these kind of Israeli government posts, and many of the people are like a couple of these groups. It's Jewish people, right? And so there's nothing in my there's no time in my internet life I've ever searched for. Please re-educate me on Israel. Re-educate me on Israel, right? But they've decided to. Then after I clicked on the Prather thing to cover it here. So this is where Facebook has become interesting to watch what they're trying to do, right? So they're putting on an onslaught of pro-Israeli propaganda. Christians United for Israel. Difficult Questions ebook. Difficult Questions. Be equipped with the truth so you have the answers you need for the difficult questions. Please enter your information below for a free copy of this ebook, Difficult Questions for Israel. Now, I don't want to enter my thing. I would get the book and read through it just so I could make fun of it. But, you know, not at the cost of, here it is here. Why Satan Hates the Jews, The Spiritual Roots of Anti-Semitism booklet by Jonathan Burness. So, there's a lot of punchlines to this question. Why does Satan hate the Jews? And you guys can leave your punchline here. But this has never been, for me and many people, anything to do with Jewish people collectively. Like I don't have, I grew up in West Hartford, Connecticut, which was 40% Jewish. My sister's, one of her close friends was Jewish, which I, was a little kid. And most of, not a good portion of my friends at elementary school were Jewish. Not most of, but, I had some friends who were Jewish. One of them, I went to his bar mitzvah. Alan Catton, his dad was he had a cattle farmer. And his dad had some kind of accent, like he was from some country, like a German or I don't know what it was. I just knew his dad didn't have an American accent. And I hung out with him and his older brother Stuart. I got along fine with them. One of my buddies from college was Jewish, and I used to drive him over to his house to check up on his grandparents. Like, it was a good, his grandparents were pretty cool. They were old people, but, they were nice. And, the times he didn't have a car, so I drove him over there. We were on a basketball team. He contacts me from time to time, and he listens to this show. His son is kind of a, aspiring truther. And so, I don't have like some negative. And this guy Fred, who was my preceptor, who started me at Saj Marg, and it's one of my favorite people because of, he just was a key person for me, right? Because, everyone who hears me talk about Saj Marg, the meditation I do, Fred was, he was a Jewish person who became a spiritual person. His family and his parents were, part of the practice. They showed up at gatherings. They had gone to meet Babaji in Europe years and years ago, second master system, and they were always at these gatherings. And so, I don't have any personal problem with Jewish people. Like, I don't have some bad story with them, whatever. I don't have some with, like, anybody like these kind of things, right? So the issue becomes, not for me, but for anybody else, like for everybody else, right? This is like an attitude that has been created by something, right? So, stereotypes are not always wrong. Like to say that stereotypes are 100% right. Of course not. Not every, there's people like many of us are completely different than our families, right? Like I don't, I'm like my siblings in some way or another, the way I act and things like that. But I'm different. Like I'm not, I don't hang out with my family. I don't really have much contact with them. Lots of people, they don't, you have like a soul group. You have groups of people. And, oftentimes your family isn't part of that. And maybe, even your demographic. Like the people that, would, who watch this YouTube channel, you're not like other truthers. You're not like, the people who, I have a fringe channel here. Most of the channels are right. Most of the truthers are right wing, and you have like different kinds of left wing truthers. And you don't have most of them. A lot of them are Christian, right? And a lot of them subscribe to, some of these bullshit, left right paradigm narratives. And I have a different kind of channel here. And the people that I would most like to be here are people who have some spiritual tendencies and don't really fit in, like some kind of almost like feel like foreigners on planet Earth and whatever it is. And that's going to be all kinds of different demographics. Like there should be like different people because in every demographic there'll be people like me, right? There's a fringe group of people that think sort of the same way and, or whatever they are. And so like I don't, like I should have a eclectic or a diverse audience here. because it's for specific groups of people that don't necessarily fit in, and spiritual people don't fit in America. People who have spiritual tendencies, or whatever, right? So, and I'm dyslexic, and I have certain things. I'm a different kind of person, right? I have a different way of thinking about things. I'm introverted, and whatever else. And so, when you're talking about a group of people who has been thrown out of all these various countries, it's not all the people. It's just the people who are in leadership positions or a certain, demographic within those people. And we're going to call those people the Zionists, which we know about. And so if you make it all about Jewish people, that's incorrect, right? Like somebody, I just read a comment where the person says, I look Jewish. And, like I don't want dopes like that on my channel, right? Like, like who, I mean, not because he thinks I look Jewish or whatever, but like who looks at somebody and gets them completely wrong, right? Like gets them, and what that means in terms of like it's a form of, like racism or whatever. Because the guy said I was stupid to post my picture because I look Jewish to him, right? Because Italian people, but what about Italians, right? Like like does that make it better that I'm Italian? What, like it's if you can't judge me on my content here or whatever, the merit of my work, and you're basing it on some personal prejudice by the way I look or whatever, like get the fuck out of here. Like you think I want you? It's some privilege to have you around, right? Like that's like I don't it's not a personal thing for me. It's just that person's a piece of shit, right? But in terms of this why Satan hates the Jews, this idea that I don't even know what goes with that. Um, Anti-Semitism is known as the oldest hatred. We read that already. Um, so the thing about this is that if there is some animosity to a group of people, like whatever these people are producing, there has to be some personal responsibility, right? Like if you say, everybody hates me because I'm jealous, because they're jealous of me, like that's, well, you're just being jealous, or you hate this person because they're jealous or whatever. There could be jealousy involved, but not when it's lots and lots of people, right? Now, you can be different, like lots of us are different, and people don't understand us or whatever, dislike us. But, hatred for people, you can have individual haters or people you just rub the wrong way. There's just people who want to hate on somebody or whatever, and you might run into people like that who you get on their radar and they just, they want to hate, they're just hateful and shitty and whatever. So, but if you find that there are people who are not like that and, have a reasonable explanation. So if we look at what's going on currently right now with Israel, is they just committed a fucking bullshit genocide on the Palestinian people in Gaza and killed lots of kids with some bullshit reason that, an asset in Hamas that they fund and control, and they did something to give them excuses, false flag thing. And smart people can see that, right? That they wanted this land, the Gaza Strip. They don't have any natural resources, and there's natural resources there. And, it's a small little country, and they want to expand it. And they've wanted to do this all along, and they've been grabbing Palestinian land. And there's no fucking way to sit to talk about that. Like that guy, Dave Smith says, they can't debate you on the facts, right? And so they make it about how some victim consciousness now, like everybody just hates Jews for some reason, right? Like across this historical relationship between Jewish people and other people, there has been, this one outcome, and how it's everybody fucking else's fault, right? Like this is how it's everybody else's fault. And, when people don't like me here, I know I can understand why they don't. Like I interact with people who grew up in the area I grew up in, or people whatever it is, my family certainly. And I understand why people don't like my family, like why I don't spend time with my family, right? Like it's not just because I'm different than them or whatever, because like it sucks to be around those people, and I'm one of them, right? So, like, I can understand why people don't like me. Like I come off abrasive, whatever it is, right? Like, I understand why people don't like this content and have difficulty listening to me. Like, if they were to list the, legitimate, not some bullshit thing that's based in them, like they get butthurt because I said something that offend them. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like legitimate, the way I present myself. I understand why people don't like me, and I don't make any effort to change that. Like, I don't, I'm not trying to appease people. I don't care. Like, I just don't care. So, but I'm not, why doesn't anybody like me kind of thing. I totally know why people won't like me, right? So there's people who do and there's people who don't. And the people who do, have similar ways of whatever it is, perceiving the world and different things. And the people who don't, I know the reasons, right? I know all the reasons why people wouldn't like me. So, like, you just should know that, right? And I just don't make an effort. Like, I don't make an effort. And whether it's, even if it's like they don't like me, it's just that I don't, I've never been somebody who seeks out people, and I'm, I suck socially at different things. And everyone should know those things about it, right? Like, even happy, nice people, people who are pretty upbeat and positive, some people just aren't going to like you because of that. Like, they're miserable or whatever it might be. And so you should know why people don't like you. Like, you can't make everybody like you. People who need to do that are always going to be miserable. Because no matter what you do, you can't make people happy and can't please them, the majority of them. Right? So there's that. But, like, in this situation, this is historical. Like, it's like historical fucking dislike. And to make it because there's some kind of anti-Semitism, why have you done nothing to change that? I mean, and what you're trying to do here is to tell everybody you're fucked up and you're wrong. You don't know what's really going on here. You don't know how great we are, right? Like, this is what they're trying to do here. I'm sure there'll be more posts today on this stuff. It's, Difficult Questions ebook. Christians United for Israel. There's one of these things where it says something here. Here it is. Help make Israel stronger and her people safer. Join over 10 million Christians in standing up and speaking out for Israel by becoming a CUFI member today. Like, why should I want to make them stronger and safer? I mean, I would hope that all people in the world are safe, but that's not the world we live in. But why is it fucking my responsibility as an American? Like, we're not giving you a fucking enough in, like, taxpayer dollars. That's the other thing. It's a parasitic relationship. What does Israel do for me? What does Israel do to make America stronger and safer, right? Like, what does Israel do? In fact, that's the opposite. Our relationship with Israel is pissing people off in that region. If you believe in these terrorist narratives, which I don't believe. I think it's a mostly constructed, fake thing, false flag type of thing. But if you believed in them, like, and certainly people are in the Middle East, which is now a wealthy area that has some resources. A lot of them hate Americans because of this relationship. And if you were to go to some of these countries or meet some of these people in some other country, you might be unsafe from your relationship, your parasitic relationship, where you keep on giving these group of people money and they keep on doing shit to piss people off and piss their neighbors off, and they know America's propping them up. So, like, why should help make Israel stronger and her people safer? Like, why is that everyone else's responsibility? Like, like, maybe they should change the way they behave and interact with people and not fucking did what they did to Palestine. Like, by doing what they did to Palestine, they've made themselves less safe, less strong, and somehow America's on the hook for that. Why is that? Like, we didn't vote for that. This is not what we wanted. I didn't want that. I didn't want America to support a fucking genocide, right? And so why is that my responsibility? Why is that anybody? Like, we're not anti-Semitic. That's fucking, like, you just fucking committed genocide, and no one likes that shit. And it's like, it's behaviors like that have created the animosity towards, and then this idea of the chosen people, that God doesn't choose people. The God that's presented in the Old Testament, the God of the, the Jewish people worship, is a fucking prick. And he doesn't even like them, right? And certainly didn't like these other people whether it be the Philistine or the Canaanites. He's a violent, angry piece of shit God who's really just some narcissistic demon, who's not, whatever if there's an entity they're connecting with or they've created this, this idea of God, that's when God isn't like that at all. God doesn't have a mind. God doesn't get jealous or envious. God doesn't, oh, you guys are worshiping other people and fuck you guys. God's not like that, right? God doesn't order people to get fucking circumcised and mutilate themselves. God doesn't give a shit about the fucking your foreskin, right? Like it's just weird shit. And so like none of these things take any kind of personal accountability for any of this stuff, right? Like, like if people don't like you, there's a reason for it. Like and I mean, if, you have exes and you have people in your life and, sometimes it's mostly them, but it's, it's got to be at least a little bit you, right? There's reasons why people don't particularly like one group of people or other group of people. There's preferences. Now, people just hate people for no reason and want to blame the Jews for everything. Well, that's separate. There are people like that, but that's not what's going on now. These college kids aren't all hateful, anti-Semitic people that grew up in they're liberal college kids. They're not like growing up in some, racist right-wing family that's hated Jews and, some Nazi family. Like they're people who, don't like what they saw going on there when they expressed it. They were told you're fucking wrong about everything. Like, why is it everyone else has to change? Why is it like everyone, like, you're a small group of people that keeps on getting kicked out of countries and everyone, like, turns on you? Maybe you can figure out what you're doing wrong, right? Like, why is it everyone else's job to prop you up and tell you how great you are because you're God's chosen people? Like, that's the attitude that makes people not like you, right? And then you put out people like Ben Shapiro and Laura Loomer, who are so fucking unlikable. Like all these people, all these shills that are putting out there, and their messages that they're putting out, like these people who shill or take the shekels. Charlie Kirk was unlikable, like the way they present themselves. So you're not helping anybody. Like Charlie Kirk was more likable in some certain ways, but mostly not. Like I immediately took a dislike to the guy as soon as he opened his mouth. Because the people who will take the shekels are not good people. They're not likable people. People who will sell out their own people, will Judas their own religious people in their own country, are not great people. And so, this is the wrong way to go about it. Like, you should go about it by, like, we're going to change things. Like, we fucked up, and we shouldn't have done what we did, and we shouldn't have destroyed. They blew up every fucking building in the Gaza Strip. I mean, imagine if some country, like America was weak, our army like collapsed, and and people came in here. We were on hard times, and we were in like an open air prison and being mistreated, and then they blew up every fucking building, every house, every building in America. I mean, like it's a vast country. It's like unthinkable. But imagine if some country came in, invaded you, made up some bullshit reason, and went into every house and everything and blew up everything, killed, a third of your people, including children, women and children. And just like these are war fucking crimes that just you don't see anymore, right? To invade civilians, they don't even have a fucking army. And the Hamas doesn't represent them. Israel has been propping up Hamas. It isn't the Palestinian people that are propping it up. That's all they have. And Hamas is just some, Israeli asset. And so they don't have an army. They don't have they don't have any recourse. And so they just went in there and just destroyed these fucking people in their houses. And now it's just there, like whatever like, this work shakes out, like they're in total control of that land and the assets that are there, including the offshore oil and these other things that they have, natural gas or whatever. Both of these things, and these on nice vacation land that they can build their Trump thing here. This thing, right? This Trump thing here. So here they are together. Posted this thing with this top comment now. And like this thing that Trump keeps proudly posting, I keep this up here because it's just so horrific. Trump was like, oh, this looks great. Let's post it. This bearded women drinking. Trump's thing. This is what they're going to turn this into. And remember, there was this Israeli developer who said that, we've done the hard part, which is demolish the thing. And you guys can get in. There's these fat fucks in by the pool. And so, I mean, just this is horrific. So there's reasons why people don't like you. And, individually, that's one thing. But when people think about a group of people, there's things that define them. In this case, for many of these young people, what defines them is what defines Israeli and Jewish people is the way they treated the Palestinians. And that doesn't speak to all Jewish people, but that's how you get labeled. This is what people are thinking about. Like when they think about Israel, it's not every person wanted this. There's lots of liberals, peace loving people in Israel, but those people just get lumped in with everybody else, right? Same thing with Americans. People hate Americans. They don't think about the Americans who didn't vote for Trump. People who hate America because of Trump or hate America because of Biden. They don't think about the people who didn't vote for him. They just think about the things that they hate about Americans, and they just lump you in. That's what happens. Like that's how it goes. Like there's reasons when you get up there and you cheer USA, USA, and throw your wealth and power in everybody's face all the time. I totally understand why people hate Americans, like if they do, right? Especially with some of the things, and we're taking their resources and eating their food and fucking around with their governments and the CIA and doing all that shit, right? I don't agree with any of that. In fact, I'm the opposite of that, but I can understand where people might think all Americans like just lump us all together, because that's what people do, right? And so you have to change that shit, right? You have to change it, like, or understand why people hate you and not try to tell them they're wrong and gaslight them and mansplain them and say all this stuff like somehow this is why Satan hates the Jews. So like the spiritual roots of anti-Semitism. Anyways, all right, so there's that. Okay, so this is I want to get to the clips of Erica Kirk, because there's going to be a theme to this video, which is they have to be doing this on purpose, right? Like they have to be, like for Erica Kirk, she comes out and says, I didn't date for 5 years. And then there's two guys that she obviously dated that are there, like, in our past that they've tried to scrub. And then there's this reality TV show where she dated this gay guy to get on the show. And she's drinking alcohol on the show, which she said she didn't, right? And so there's video of her doing things that she said she didn't do, right? Amongst all, and she's being, everything that she's doing is under a microscope right now. And so, I'll show you the clips in a bit. We've seen it already, some of the things. I mean, we've seen other things from that show, but we've seen her bullshit before. And the other thing is, well, this is Ben Shapiro. Like, listen to this guy here.
Charlie's murder? To spew absolutely baseless trash implicating everyone from French intelligence to Mossad to members of TPUSA in Charlie's murder or a cover-up in that murder, then we as people...
Okay, so when I first Ben Shapiro, I'm like, are you serious with this guy? And so, this is where he trashes all these other people. He paid $1 million to do this. He doesn't have $1 million. He gave $1 million to TPUSA. I don't know if that was the money that he gave, or he gave another $1 million to speak here. When Charlie died, he gave $1 million. And his company, as Max Blumenthal said, they had canceled their company credit cards. They're hemorrhaging viewers because of the pro-Israeli stuff. And, he's not a organic creation. Like, he's a dweeby, unlikable, obnoxious. He has all the negative qualities. But just his appearance, he's like a golem. He's like a gross, like just a... like the hateable. He's like a walking, inspiration for hate crimes guy. Like he's horrible. Like people just hate the guy, right? And so, so that's that. This is this guy. And so, of all the Jewish people that I've known in my life, and all the other famous Jewish people, Ben Shapiro's got to be one of the worst and most mockable, right? Like he's the unlikable person that they're using to push this Israel agenda, this Israeli agenda, the Zionist agenda. They have likable people. There's likable. Dave Smith's likable, much more likable than he is. Of course, he's on the other side. Max Blumenthal is likable. Of course, he's on the other side, right? But, they have comedians, they have famous people, and people who are liked, people who have, people, positive people. And this is the guy they rolled out and give all this money to and prop up. And he is... he's repulsive, right? And so this is one of the top two of these right wing, fake truther, pro-Israeli people, and there's these shills, these shackled up people that are forced upon that have been propped up by money, not by their likability or the fact that they can create an audience, right? Why would it just when you listen to this guy, you just want to turn him off, like just the way he speaks. I mean, everything about him, he is somebody that's loathsome. Like you people loathe him. Like it's just based on who he is. It's not even on what he's saying. It doesn't even matter what he's saying. It's just how he is, like what he is as a person, like what it is to be Ben Shapiro, and what it is to be in front of people and talking. Like your reaction is like, "Yeah, get that thing out of here. What is that? It's how did that thing make it up on stage, right?" And so, this is the guy they picked to be their spokesman. These Zionists. I mean, they could pay for anybody. They paid to create Charlie Kirk, who was, more likable than Ben Shapiro, but still, not great. And this is what they. How can this not be intentional? Like it seems like this whole thing that's happening is this turning on Israel is being done intentionally. I mean, I'm not everybody's on board with it, maybe, but it seems like everything that they're doing is to create animosity and hatred for Israel and Zionist movement. So that's the person number one, right? That's thing one. Okay, so this is freeloomer.com. This is Laura Loomer. This is thing two. And as unlikable as Ben Shapiro is, he isn't a fourth or a fifth as unlikable as she is. She's 5 times more unlikable than he is, right? Like she is just repulsive. Like I'm one of the worst people out there. And like there's a lot of unlikable people. And I can't think of anybody who's more unlikable than she is. Just to the tone of her voice.
It's mocked me and called me crazy, but what are they doing? I want to know what people are actually going to do. My life is ruined. Does anybody understand how ruined my life is? I'm sick of it. I don't want to listen to people tell me that I'm a conspiracy theorist. They don't know what it's like.
All right, so this is just a rant, but even if she's happy, she's unlikable. This is like this was she was on Alex Jones. The person who copied this didn't line up the lips with her voice, but you get the idea. Like she's just look at her face. I mean, everything about her, like she's just the worst. She is the fucking worst, right? And these people are like these are your spokespeople. Like, would you hire this person to be a spokesperson for your product, for any of your organization? Would you want this person representing you? Like anybody, like any organization, country or whatever. And Ben Shapiro, those the people you want? People that like, you want people that like are people other people are attracted to, not just like not certainly not just a sexual way or not at all a sexual way. People who are likable, people who people want to spend time with and want to listen to you, to your voice, and hear your words, and look at you, and they feel good. They like it. It's a positive experience, right? You don't have like a when you show things, you put like beauty out there, like flowers, and you don't put like, let's say you're a company and you have a beautiful building, but you also are a slumlord. You also own like shitty properties and factories that are run down and gross, and like there's parts of every town, like the industrial part, where it's like polluted, and there's like fucking railroad tracks and shitty fucking hotels that people have to stay in if they're like these nondescript hotels, and the hotels are the best thing there. And then they have like factories and buildings. Sometimes the factories, other factories next door are no longer being used. It's just some empty building with birds flying out of the broken fucking windows, right? And these companies have like beautiful assets, like buildings and grounds, like landscaped grounds. And when they show you pamphlets of the company, they don't show you the rundown bullshit, shitty part, right? And that's what Laura Loomer and fucking Ben Shapiro are. It's the stuff you want to hide. It's the stuff that you don't want to say, hey, like go play for the other team, right? Go fucking support Palestine, right? Go out there and be on the other team. You don't want to be on your team. It's like, people would pay them to, there's like people who are these, they're called coolers. And there's a movie called The Cooler, and the guy was these bad luck Shreplocks. And if somebody was hot at a casino, these coolers would go sit next to the person because they're just losers and have negative energy. And the person would, based on their vibrations, this is part of the Sajmark meditation that I do. Everybody gives off energy. And you're around some people and they just suck the energy out of you. They just suck the energy out of the room. They're like these black holes that just produce negative energy. And as soon as you hire one of these people, there's chaos. I mean, some of them are like have personality disorders and they're active, but sometimes they have to just sit there and exude energy. There was this guy that used to do this job. I read this article like 20 years ago, and he had no sense of smell, so he would make himself smell putrid, and he'd come in and he would do like, let's say a doctor's office owes somebody money, and the collection company would hire this guy to sit in the doctor's waiting room. He'd make an appointment and just sit there and just smell up the place so bad that people were leaving and canceling their appointments. And the doctor was like, all right, well, I'll pay you guys off just to get this guy out of here, right? Like like this was his job. And this is like what Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro are. They're fucking unlikable people. So why hire people like this? Like, you don't have anybody better than this. You don't have anybody who, is likable and reasonable. And they just come out and then they yell and they goofy and they have to pay, and Ben Shapiro had to pay to be on that stage, right? He gave $1 million to them. You maybe gave another $1 million. I don't know if it was just that same $1 million after Charlie died. And he bought his way onto the stage so he could shit on all these other presenters and people there. And then the whole fucking right-wing, magosphere turned on the fucking guy. And, it had the opposite effect, right? And she, I mean, my God, this fucking creature, right? So, like, this is some, witch-like hag. You're like, oh my God, can you get away from me, right? Like, if you sat in a restaurant and she was, like, in the table next to you, you'd be like, talking to your waiter, can we please get another table, right? Like, as far away from that fucking she-devil as possible. And so, like, it doesn't make any sense that they would roll these people out and then do all the things they've done and then, and then try to rework it and tell people they're wrong about Israel and, the whole thing here, the fucking Zionist movement. And, like, it's the worst thing. Like, if I'm a Jewish person, I'd be like, holy shit. Like, this is what you're representing me with, right? Like, what if these people were the American spokesman? Like, this is the American spokeswoman and Ben Shapiro was the spokesperson for America. Would you be happy about that? Like, all the people are judging Americans based on these two fucking devils, right? These two demons. And so it just doesn't make any sense. They have people that are more likable. Like, they don't know how these people come across. They're totally oblivious. They're going to give millions of dollars to these people and prop them up and make them the face of their movement. Like, Jesus Christ, why the fuck would you do that? All right, let's...
Can't get my dick out.
Okay, so this is Jordan. Jordan can't get his dick up, at least in terms of when he's having sexual contact with women. We know this because on the previous episode, he met Erica J. Kirk, and he claims to be a Christian. He is a rich person who lives in the Hamptons, and he's on this show called The Summer House. And just months before she ends up meeting Charlie Kirk in that epic story they both share about their interview that turned into them dating, she tried to get on this reality TV show by dating this guy. And I thought that's all that was there. She met him in a bar. They went off and had some mojitos, and she gave him her number. And he then proceeded to go and talk to his 4 girlfriends at the end of that episode and said that whenever he's making out with women and being with women, his dick shrinks, right? Like, he doesn't have a sexual reaction to them. And so, because of that and the fact that he's gay, and he acts gay, and he seems gay, and even his people were saying, yeah, one of them was like, yeah, we know what's going on here. He is liberated the following episode because he's now told all these girls, his friends, what's going on, and the people watching the show, that he has this erectile dysfunction, as he calls it, but it's really him just being gay and not coming to terms with it, which, So in this episode, he is ecstatic about finally divulging a secret for some reason, and he is going to go on a date with Erica J. Kirk.
I just feel like a new man now. I can start a new relationship with Erica. I'm glad
This relationship lasts one dinner party and one date when Erica, it goes from her laughing, giggly self to full fucking bitchy Erica, which I'll show you. See, they copyright this stuff, right? But you know, this is Peacock. It's on Peacock. Peacock sucks, and they had a football game on last night, and they don't let you pause it. They don't let you fast forward and rewind, even if you have Peacock Plus, because they're double dipping motherfuckers over there. But they also copyright this shitty old show because they suck. But Jordan here then goes to bed with his zebra, his stuffed zebra. It seems like multiple people in the house, and I don't know if there's a story behind it. And this show sucks so bad I don't care and don't need to know. But, you know, at least he sleeps with a stuffed animal. And he's a grown-ass man.
Okay. These past couple months, I've been having, like, erectile dysfunction issues.
Or as, like, the rest of the world calls being a gay dude trying to have sex with women, right? And this guy doesn't buy it here, his friend.
So, Erica does not eat meat.
So here he divulges to his 4 friends. They all share this house. They all have a big dinner party. And he's inviting Erica, and she's bringing her roommate, who might have been Erica was Miss Arizona, and the roommate's like Miss Kentucky or something. I'm not sure. That was from the other episode. But he divulges that Erica is a vegetarian, which I don't think she is now, or they're hiding that, right? Because vegetarians don't do well with right-wing people. Like, you know, right-wing people are meat eaters. But, you know, she grew up with what seems to be maybe liberal, conservative, liberal, you know, intelligence community parents. I mean, this whole thing looks very suspect. And she's a vegetarian. And this is, you know, a month or so before she meets Charlie, a couple months before she meets Charlie.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Hello.
Hi, you.
How are you? Good to see you.
Okay, so there's the unhappy couple.
This is where none of the magic happens.
Great.
So he says, you know, because he's got erectile dysfunction in air quotes, this is where the magic doesn't happen, or whatever he said there, where none of the magic happens. And she thinks he's serious, and then she says, great. And then she's like, he realizes a joke. She doesn't know about the erectile dysfunction yet, and won't know.
I let him put his penis in me. That sounds fun.
So Erica's friend asks this guy that you don't see in the frame how he fits into the friend group, and one of the, you know, key members of this cast, this classy young lady, says, I let him put his penis in me, which Erica Kirk laughs at. And this is the show she wants to get in on, right? They say shit like that all the time. They're like really gross, and, you know, it's kind of funny. And I guess honest. But it's, you know, it's not good Christian fare, right? It's not the stuff that her core audience would approve of. But I guess when you're pals with Nicki Minaj, this kind of thing floats. Also, she says, I let him put his penis in me, because she's, you know, like she's just a gift. You know, like, okay, so they're sitting on the couch chatting, and they're talking about the house, and she says, this woman says, do you name everything, like in the house? Erica and I name everything, and they're roommates.
Like even our plans.
I have a statue dog in my bed right now. It's Charlie.
So she says she has a statue dog. She means stuffed animal dog. It's a bulldog in her bed right now, and she's named it Charlie, and he's lifting his leg and urinating. And, of course, Charlie Kirk, I mean, it's weird. She's saying that to Erica Kirk, sitting next to her, and saying, I have a dog that's urinating on my bed that I named Charlie, you know, a fake dog. And she's about to meet Charlie 2 months later. I mean, it's kind of weird. But, you know, who knows? Like,
And I have a picture of it. I sent it to Max. That's embarrassing.
so she's showing Erica Kirk a picture of her dog, Charlie. And I guess maybe she'll sleep somewhere else. I don't know. What I guess she's here. I don't know. She's over in her room. Whatever. And the gay dude gets mad.
Stop cock blocking me.
Stop cock blocking my gay limp dick, right? You know, his roommate or friend is just, you know, making small talk, which you do, I guess, at dinner parties. And he's getting all jealous and, you know, whatever. Okay, so he's obviously staring at her, making, you know, uncomfortably and weird. And he touches her hair, and she's obviously trying to ignore him. I don't know how much this touch of his stage or scripted. Probably not that much, because for the quality of show this is, these people could totally deliver the content they need.
Your hair is over.
I know, my hair keeps shedding. It's like crazy.
I'm not going to show all the clips. So he asks her, about her hair, and she says, my hair's shedding like crazy, all this stuff. And he says, what sheds more, your hair or your cat's hair? And she pauses, and she'll say something here. But you can see she doesn't like the guy. She's there to get on the reality TV show. It's when a girl knows a guy likes him, and she wants to leverage that for something for herself, but not a relationship, right? Either she knows he's gay or she just doesn't like the guy or whatever, but she's clearly here for some other purpose. And she's playing along, but doesn't like him. And pretty much everyone else notices it.
Who sheds more, your hair or your cat?
Probably me.
That's classic Monica J. Kirk there, flirtatious eye thing that she does. Right? It's classic Erica. And she's, it's creepy too. It's like fucking, like some kind of, like, I'm going to kill you look. Masking as flirting. Okay, so then these vampires all ask her, these catty vampires, one of them asks her, what she thinks of Jordan, and the whole fucking table grows silent. Because they kind of know that she's not into him. And she says this. She pauses for a while, and then she says,
I thought he was nice. When a girl says that a guy is nice, it means that her vagina is as dry as a desert.
kaboom! Stay classy. I'm glad this show is staying classy. So that's what she's talking about, Erica Kirk's driver, JJ, when it comes to this gay dude. Okay, so they go on a date. And it says Erica and Jordan's date. And Erica's going to drink alcohol. She's going to drink it at a bar, not at a coffee shop. She went along with this because more than likely she wanted to be on this reality TV show. At least that's got to be part of it. Because she was wanting to do anything to be famous. She's already been in music videos. She's Miss Arizona. She's somewhat of a celebrity. When you're, Miss Arizona or whatever it is, I mean, it's not, it's like, isn't it like isn't Trump stuff the secondary pageant? Like he doesn't have Miss America, he's got like Miss USA or whatever it is. But either way, she's got some fame. She's got a little bit of following, and she's about to rope in Charlie Kirk, based in another gay dude, Tyler Boyer, introducing her to him. And she's lived in New York City for 5 years, and she's trying to be a celebrity. Okay, so I'm not going to show you all these clips because they copyright stuff and it's not really all important. She spends most of the date giggling and smiling, and she does that a lot, inappropriately giggling, things that aren't funny, the way girls do when they're trying to, rope a guy in and make him feel like he's funny when they're not really thinking he's funny. That's just what they're acting. She puts on this act. And then she's going to get bitchy at the end because, it's her true state. And up until the grieving process, mostly what you saw Erica Kirk, it was Erica Franze and Erica Kirk were her laughing, giggling, smiling, looking like an upbeat, positive person. But then she has that dark side.
I'll have a glass of your Chardonnay.
So at the town hall, she said that she didn't like to go out. She didn't date at all for 5 years before Charlie. She did date. We now know that there's all this info about posts and, things that were deleted. She dated that guy, Big Jort, 55 or whatever. And the other dude who seems to be in running to take over at least some of Charlie Kirk's responsibilities. And he was a friend of Charlie Kirk. So, she dated multiple people in that circle, in that area. She's on a date here, and she said that she liked to go for coffee and not going to bars and alcohol. People go out for drinks in the day and dinner with a different guy, and she said all that stuff. And she's lying. This is not the case. Those 5 years in New York, she was just like every one of these, these wannabe hoes that want to be famous, either through reality TV or dating somebody famous or being a model or being in music videos, or she was, acting, whatever she had to do, she was willing to do it, right? She wanted to be famous. And she was going out drinking with people to make it happen.
Well, it's good to see you.
Is it Erica? Doesn't look like it is.
Where were you conceived?
So then he just gets weird. He asks a lot of weird fucking questions. They're just there for a short period of time together, barely knows her. He's asking, eventually going to get to soulmates. And right, but they're merging this with they're going back and forth with another date, and where a woman is throwing axes with one of these girls is throwing axes with her English boyfriend. It's kind of like funny the way they do it because he's bombing here, and then they show an axe hitting the wall. Like it's kind of good editing. I'm not going to show you that part, but it's the one sort of quality thing that the show does.
I mean, what boxes do I check for you?
The gay dude best friend box, right? The closeted gay dude best friend box. So he just fires these questions at her, like she doesn't even get a chance to answer. It's like rapid fire. Eventually she snaps.
Are you my soulmate?
I mean, this is a weird and inappropriate question. And like she just snaps.
No.
Okay, she's all giggles and smiles and laughing and flirtatious. And he just rapid fires these questions. And it breaks her, and Dark Erica comes out. Right? She's like, no, you disgusting pig. It's kind of a great moment. And then basically she says she's not interested in him. He's like, what are you doing here? Are we going? I thought we were like like it's their first date, and he's just dealing with his erectile dysfunction, aka him being gay. And then so he asks all those questions, and then she says this.
Asking someone if they're your soulmate is a heavy thing.
First she takes a shot and says, no boxes. I don't check any of your boxes.
With you, if you want to get matter of fact, my intentions with you are to be friends.
She friend zones him, right? She gets irritated real quick. She's very feisty, and she snaps. She's like laughing and giggling, and then she just, like, after a while she can't keep it up, and she just goes full Erica, and she friend zones the guy. Right?
So I mean, with that, if there's ever any way that I can help you with like your endeavors and anything that you have going on, like.
So he thinks this is a date, and you are saying this is just you wanting to help him with his endeavors, right? Some endeavors that he might have. He's an entrepreneur. He's a rich person that has some kind of probably trust fund from his family. And he is on this show called Summer House that is in the Hamptons, where rich people live in New York State. And he is, all of that. And so then, like, the next scene you see is he's saying, check, please. Right? So this is her, right? This is her with her gaudy jewelry. And she is trying to manipulate this gay dude into maybe a part on this reality TV show. And she might have gone on 3 or 4 dates if he didn't get all serious and ask these questions. And milked her, she might have got into a few more episodes. Maybe hooked up with one of the other people on the show, or whatever it is. But this is Erica J. Kirk, right? And she's lied about all these things. So, she goes on this town hall and she says that she hasn't dated in 5 years. And there's a lot of social media evidence and, of course, this video evidence of this reality TV show to the contrary. She said she didn't drink and go to these bars and hang out with men and do these things and date and all that stuff. She was waiting for her soulmate, who ended up being Charlie J. Kirk, and we all know about how that fake fucking story is. And their fake kids and the rest of it. So, this is her. And like I was saying earlier on, let me switch over a voiceover here. Finding the motivation that people control the system is very difficult because they're not competent people. They're not mentally competent people. They're fuck-ups. Many of them are old money, and so they're disconnected from reality, other people. They don't understand the so-called muggles. And, even though it seems like they're getting it done because of their level of control that they're able to exert, they're not really, they suck at it, right? So that's one of the things. So, with this, like, why would Erica Kirk say this stuff? Like, she can say it to some friends. You have a conversation. I didn't date 5 years before Charlie Kirk. She's just some normal woman. And, like, once in a while, people fact check their friends. And maybe she wants it to be true, or she's, adding years, right? Like, she thinks, she dated Big Jort 5 years ago. Something like that, right? But when you're out there presenting stuff and you're running up against a wall of hostility and people are questioning your level of grief and love for your dead husband and your legitimacy of your kids and your pretty much everything that you do, and you go on this town hall and you say something like this can easily be fact checked, and the way the internet works and the way that the haters and people or whatever they are, right? People who are not on your side against you. And they're going to find the information, they always do. And you get caught lying. So is this intentional? Is she doing this intentionally? Are they doing it to divide people? Are they doing it? These are all legitimate things. It could be a number of these things. It could be all of these things, right? Are they kind of see what they can get away with, right? This is what I'm talking about. Not just this with Trump and all of it, right? Are they, a lot of this is how far can we push the people before they break and they go after us, or what can we get away with? How much can we take away from them? How much can we lie? How much can we deceive them? Like at what point do they go ape shit, right? So like it's like if you're teasing someone, you see how far you can go, right? You'll see if there's any fight in the person. Like if not that I don't endorse that kind of behavior, but you see people who are manipulative and they'll tease people and they'll do things. They're sort of assessing the situation, right? Especially grifters. They're seeing what the people are, what makes the person tick, and what they can do to provoke the person, or what they can do, manipulate the person, or whatever it might be. And so it seems to be all of those things, right? Like, because none of this stuff is effective. Like, if you look at the stated goal, if you're saying that Erica Kirk's trying to win people over, well, no, like, she's not doing that. She has whatever people who, she had built-in sympathy and empathy because her husband was just shot in the neck and we all saw it and whatever. Like, that's the official story. And she had all those people at TPUSK and the rest of them who felt something for a widow. And she came out, she had that victim consciousness, she had that self-righteous stuff, she had that, these cries of this widow be echoed around the world, that bullshit, right? Like all that stuff. And she had all that, millions of people. And they made bank on it, and they, took advantage of it. And then she started to talk and grieve and do all this bullshit and touch J.D. Vance on the back of his head, and, and then the shelf life ran out on, like, well, when do you get to call this woman a cunt, right? like, at what point do you get to call this woman a cunt or a grifter? And that was about a month in when people started to do it, and, it was obvious from the beginning. And everything she's done since then has made it worse. Everything that TPUSK has done has made it worse, right? And they're in this battle with Candace Owens, and Candace Owens is shooting herself in the foot and being annoying and doing her bullshit, but she's still, she delivers enough to, even if people don't even like her, her stuff is much more compelling and it agrees with the beliefs and the orientation that all these people have, that this official story is bullshit. And she's, they're anti-truther, they're they're pro-government, they're pro-official story, they're pro all these things, and that's the wrong side to be on if you're, if this is your audience, right? And the stuff with Israel, like I said, you roll out these two people, these horrible people, and, they're just miserable and just unlikable, and, like, why would you do that? Like, why would you make them your spokesman? And they've dumped millions of dollars into their bullshit, right? And so, like, there's, it doesn't make any sense unless you're purposely trying to fail, right? Which is, at least part of the case, but there might be some other reason for this. Or maybe no reason at all. It's just chaotic and stupid. I mean, it's been the year of the chaos, which it clearly has been. But, so this is Hypocrisy 101, and they're doing it. Like, I try to do it like a different theme, because you can cover all these stories and issues, but the theme here is clearly, why are they doing this when it's doomed to failure? Like, if their stated goal is to get support for Israel and to reverse the trends that are going on, Laura Loomer and Ben Shapiro aren't going to do it. You dump, $1 trillion into their campaigns, and they're doing the opposite. They're creating animosity towards that group of people, that demographic, and Israel and the Zionists. Like, every time they open their mouth, they push people away from their agenda, right? They're on, the other team should be paying them, right? They should be on the Palestinian payroll or whoever. The Palestinians don't have payroll, like anything over there, right? They have a rubble, right? They could pay them in rubble. But clearly they are, they're failing. They're doing stuff that's going to fail their agenda. So both TPUSK and, the rest of them, they're all just tanking. And, I could only imagine it's intentional, but maybe it's not. Maybe they're just, they're that stupid and that incompetent. Okay, I got some comments. I did a voiceover this morning for my Journey series I'm going to post at the end of this video. But first there's this. So here's the first comment. The person writes, Candace Owens has straight clavicle from her shoulder to shoulder. What does that tell you when it involves the human bone structure? Research. This is to, while the Doge failed, economic collapse is inevitable. Alex versus Candace. And they roll out my Alex Jones clips, which, people appreciate. Somebody write, Doge didn't fail. They got it. They got exactly what they wanted for themselves out of it. You got that right. And I agree with this because I say this same kind of thing. That the economic system isn't failing. It's doing what it's designed to do, and that's always true. It's and it's creating wealth and whatever privilege for whatever the people that it's designed to do that for, which we always that's always true. But this is about the official story. And Doge was, Elon Musk came out and said, if we don't do something now, this country is bankrupt. It's already bankrupt, but this is somebody officially saying that who has a role in the government and one of the richest people in the world, that we're completely fucked. There's a whole new thing about silver and China and, that can cause bankruptcy, the way that the silver market is being manipulated right now. So there's always these things that are out there, but we're fucked in all kinds of different ways, and economically is one of them. Morally and, the quality of people and going in the wrong direction, evolutionary and, idiocracy is the bigger problem, but they're all there, right? And so, that's when I'm talking about it failing, they said it was supposed to reduce the deficit and it's failed, right? We knew it was going to fail because we knew it wasn't ever designed for that, and we know that it can't be successful and they can't do anything. They weren't going to give the money back to you, right? We screw the other guy and pass the savings on to you kind of thing, right? They're not here for you. They're here to take the money, right? If they cut government spending, they're going to pocket the money or give it to somebody else, some kind of money laundering situation, or Israel or whatever it is. So, that's always obvious, So then there's this one here. You are stupid. You expose yourself. That's all the comment is. That's the whole comment, right? And, it's to the same video, so they either Alex Jones fan or Candace Owens fan or Trump fans or whatever they are. But there's never any context. They never explain their comment, right? Because, which makes the comment longer or suckier. But it's just these random statements with no validity. And so this is an old video. Erica forgives unconvicted Patsy, then throws up the devil's horns, which I got so many of these dopes came in. It's not devil's horns, it's I love you. But, this person writes, this video and comments have aged very well. I watched the memorial live. I was actually crying through it, so I did not see everything. Now I feel like I am so blind. I hate being conned. And, the thing about, one of the good things about this channel is I almost always get there immediately because I'm not waiting for facts. I'm not waiting for some, thing. I just see what I see. And, whatever that is, I just say it. Either I'm right or wrong. It's 100% based on perception and my reading ability to be reading other people and understanding human nature and just getting a sense of people in a situation. And when I first saw Charlie Kirk, he was agreeing with, he was saying that Jeffrey Epstein was, more than likely working with Mossad. That was the first clip that I got. I think my wife sent it to me. And I never saw him before. And he was saying something I 100% agree with. I had no problem with what he was saying. I had a problem with him. Like I knew he was fucking something wrong with the guy. I was like, oh, this guy? This guy's not spiritual. He's not a godly person. And he isn't. He was a political, shackled up shill who betrayed his country, his religion, and everybody else, and then turned on the people that gave him all the money. I mean, not a good person, right? Like Israel built him, and then he said, fuck you guys, and then started to undermine the message that he was paid to deliver. He was paid hundreds of millions of dollars to deliver. And so, I was right about all this stuff because it's easy to see if you see it. And, facts and, information, all this stuff that people say, is so important to them is always being blurred and manipulated. But your reaction, your intuition, and if you've honed these skills and, years of meditation and, whatever, being introverted and these other things have helped, whatever it is for me personally. But, I get there first, like just with the stuff with, if not first, immediately. There's other people who, either said it or knew it right away. But with the catch-up gate, the thing with Trump, I'm like, oh, this is fake as fuck. My wife and I were watching, I'm like, this is fake as fuck. She was like, well, he's bleeding out his ear. I'm like, no, that's fake. This is a WWE style thing. And then next thing I know, all this WWE information, I had no idea that Trump had appeared with Vince McMahon and these other things, right? Like, I had no idea that he had a relationship with him, like all that stuff, that he had a financial relationship with Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan and these other people. And that he was rolling out Hulk Hogan and Dana White and Kid Rock at his fucking, his nomination party. And he was going to put on that maxi pad for a non-existent cut, right? That needed no stitches and stopped bleeding by the time he stood up, right? Like all that shit. And so the facts were there, but I didn't need them because I just knew I could look at it and see it was fake. Anyways, here's the voiceover that I did earlier today, and I'll see if I got time to make another short video to put up on my backup channel. They'll probably be up there maybe tomorrow morning. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This is the 240th edition of the Journey series, and today is Sunday, December 28th. I've already done all the other voiceovers here, but I'm going to do an introduction because I think I said add an intro. So I'm about to announce the year of whatever it is, the year of the whatever this is going to be for 2026. And it's going to be tied to the Whispers of the Brighter World messages and the predictions specifically for this coming year. And you'll hear some of that voiceover here when I make that announcement in my next, Journey series. And you would have already heard it probably on my channel. So this is a Whispers message from, I'm going to read this and I want to come back to what I was talking about here. Tuesday, November 14th, 2010 a.m. Your world is your world is filled with temptations. Every moment they're lying in wait for all of you. It's not easy to resist one's own inclinations. We all have struggled against ours. Life's apprenticeship is not without mistakes. To some extent, they build the human being, provided they remain within acceptable limits and serve as a lesson. The being becomes refined little by little and from life to life until reaching a stage where the soul's appeal becomes urgent. Here begins the quest for the absolute. By degrees, one meets the aspirations of the self that urges one to act. How many lives will be necessary to satisfy it? By admitting their mistakes and trying to remedy them, human beings foster their progress. The long perspective can be enriching, and you are the ones who shape it by your reactions. Ensure that your life scenery changes. You can give it new colors. Those of love, of beauty in all of its forms, and abnegation, an entire palette, rich and colorful, that will embellish your inner space, giving it strength, and a strength that can move mountains of the spirit, Babaji. So I, like I said, the Whispers of the Bright World is going to play a part in this coming year with some of these prophecies. I've released the prophecies on my backup channel, and I'm going to release them here probably by the time you listen to this video. I don't know when this video is going to be up, but right around New Year's of 2026, I'm going to have the Whispers prophecies that have been here. You guys have had access to them. It's one of the Journey series. But I'm going to I've uploaded that. It's just waiting to make that public. Sahaj Mark's supposed to go on for 10,000 years. And it's still alive and well because, I've been doing the 7-day sittings, 7 sittings in 7 days. I decided to do that for the new year. I did the 4th sitting last night. I've been doing it before I go to bed. And so number 5 will be tonight. And then I'll wrap this up by Tuesday, and then go into the new year, with these 7. There's a playlist on the Gratefulness meditation that's 7 sittings in 7 days. These individual cleanings, and it's a deep cleaning. They're meant for deep cleaning and these other things. And I've used, there's a couple of playlists. One is 3 sittings in 1 day, and then there's the 3 introductory sittings, and these are all to help. The introductory sittings are 3 sittings, 1 in 3 consecutive days. So 3 days, one sitting each day. And that introduces people to the system, a certain level of cleaning. That's how I started years ago. I went to my preceptor's house for the in August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I believe it was, 1993. So whatever the Thursday was, went in on a Tuesday, and those were my 3 first sittings, and they were life-changing and transforming and these things. My spiritual condition and approach has been really good. I've been having this, feelings in my central region, which is, the ultimate goal, at the base of the skull. There's these 13 spiritual yatra points where your soul goes on a journey and goes to these points. And I've had these blissful experiences. I woke up from sleeping, and I was dreaming about the central region. It was an amazing feeling, and I woke up and I was just feeling this deep spiritual condition. I can't describe it any other way. That happened about a month or so ago. And, my meditations have been really great this past, I don't know, it's a couple of months. But I, felt the need for this cleaning. And, I had some anger come up. That's part of things. You'll experience some negative emotions, especially at night. Sometimes I'd wake up angry, just, not specifically at anything, just there's anger in my system. There's just, it's like heat. There'll be heat in your system and whatever it is. And then the last 2 nights after the sitting, I was extraordinarily restless. I didn't feel that way beforehand, and whatever was being cleaned out. And I ended up sleeping for a little bit and waking up really restless. And then I was meditating. I just woke up and meditated, and I just felt a lot better. It was I was processing the sitting or whatever it is. But in all that, I had some thoughts. This dodgy truther had sent me some stuff. And I realized that part of my life where, I found a group of people. And I had some friends, some people who, I knew. And, I'm not a social person. And I just don't get along with people. Or not just don't get along. I don't really need a lot of social interaction. But there are some wonderful people, saintly people, just really the best people I know. Some of them, some of these people in the Sajmark system are unbelievable. There's a young man who helped me and my family. He was assigned to us. He had yoga in his name. And he helped my family and I when we went through this visa crisis. And he was just great. He was a young kid living at the ashram, and somebody, they assigned him to help us, with the, stuff that we need. He went with us to the different places. We had to go to the police, and we had to go to the immigration. We had overstayed our visa. It was a whole fucking nightmare. And the guy kept on checking up on me. He arranged for a cab, I needed a cab to take me and my kids to a gathering. And he arranged for it, and he was just great. He was, he was a wonderful person. And he Skyped me 2 years later when I came back to America. And of course, Skype has disappeared, unfortunately. So I don't have any contact with him. And of course, I don't know what he's doing with the Heartfulness. But he was just somebody who would check up, like a young kid, just checking up, seeing how I was doing or whatever it was. Just an amazing person, just spiritual and service-oriented. And just his condition, just a person who just radiates God. And when they're around, you feel better. That's, there's people like that, a lot of them in the Sajmark system. And so, people I stayed at their houses when I traveled, or people I interacted with, and just, people from different countries all over the world, spiritual people who really want to serve God. And they, and they were they glowed from being conduits for the divine energy that's given freely in the Sajmark system. And it's just, an amazing thing. And for all those people and for the people who benefited from their family members and the people they worked with and people that they, interacted with, the people who benefited, They were like bright lights. This is another way of being like a pocket of a future. They would create these spiritual centers. Many of them would be preceptors, and they would transmit this energy, and they would just be, they would be lights in a city. They would be spiritual lights in a city where people would come to their houses and benefit from the spiritual condition there, and the service and the commitment these people had made to serving God and being, conduits for the divine energy to flow through them. And so there are a number of people like that, who people I knew of or knew, just you look at them and you knew, and like, people I maybe interacted with or not, but, they were these saintly people. And, this organization had some assholes, ambitious people who many of them would, get lots of time with the master of the system, but wouldn't benefit. He criticized some of these guys. There are people with spiritual tendencies, but they had been also like, had bad lives as like, kings or Sir Kings or, whatever, demonic kings, or, they had spiritual lives, but also some not spiritual lives. Many of them were making a lot of money, but they were, they were spiritual, but they also had some issues, right? They were causing problems, selfish, manipulative, whatever. They had character issues. But, Chargy kept these guys, like, I don't know, their negative tendencies down. And then when he passed away, they all started to get goofy and greedy, and, they all fucked everything up, and under Dodgy, who was himself a piece of shit, right? And I'm saying this because, I was thinking about this the other day. This was my group of people. Like, these were people who all, loved what I loved, and they were, whatever, like people who have, love something. They are Star Trek fans or sports fans, or whatever it is. They have a passion for something. And you have a group of people, like people who also love what you love and are doing what you do. And this was my group. Like, this was for better or for worse. And, a lot of the people, I didn't get along with or annoyed me or, whatever it was. Like, I just, I'm always kind of an outsider in these things, but this was my group. I was always going to be a part of this group. I was going to support it, the organization, as best I could. And, we all shared something. And even if we didn't have anything else in common, we shared this one thing, right? And, this idea that Saj Marg would go on for the next 10,000 years is talked about in Whispers of the Brighter World. And so when Chargy passed away, and they had this guy Dodgy be his successor, and I had seen Dodgy, as Kamlish, and I thought he was a good preceptor, and I had heard good things about him, and my own experiences with him were good, and I thought that he would do a great job, and I've talked about this in many videos, and he just fucking didn't. And, I realized the other night that I don't have any contact with any of these people anymore, even my brother, because my brother's a dodgy person, and, I was like, I'm not listening to people tell me I'm wrong and try to pull me back in and re-recruit me or whatever. I'm just not doing that. There's this one guy, preceptor, who a few people heard about heard from my channel about, heartfulness, and they were getting sittings from this preceptor, and he contacted me. We had known each other for years, and he's still trying to bring me back in. Like, he's, and he's a nice guy or whatever, but, I keep on telling him Dodgy's a piece of shit, and you guys are on the wrong side of this thing, right? And there's this guy, the Dodgy Truther, who's still in the organization in India, and he posts a lot of shit about what a piece of shit Dodgy is, but he's still trying to fix the organization, much like Truthers are trying to fix the country or the world. And I'm like, you can't do it. It's fucking broken. It's done. Dodgy is the official president of the system, and he's fucked it. Like, he's fucked the organization. They have access to the properties, the ashrams that, held this spiritual charge, these places that are like gateways to heaven. You go there and you feel it's like heaven on earth, right? These amazing places. There's a French guy that made a video. It's on the Saj Marg channel about, this ashram and going to these gatherings, like it's like going to heaven, right? It's heaven on earth. This spiritual energy there. These places are amazing, and, I can't go to them anymore because these, I'm not a part of that thing, and I'm sure the condition there sucks and whatever it is. So there's two things here. The first one is that, I was seeing, every once in a while this comes back up. Like, this was, the center part of my life between the ages of 29 and, 50, whatever it was, 57, 58, 59. That was it. Like for that chunk of my life, which was, 30 years. So like if I'm going to live, my majority of, both my parents lived into their 90s. Three of my grandparents lived into their 90s, and the fourth one died when he was 80. And he fought in 2 world wars, and he smoked, and he was a fireman before they had oxygen masks. So he breathed in all kinds of toxic stuff, and he died of lung cancer. And he probably would have outlived. Might have lived as long or longer than anyone. My one grandmother lived to 99. She was 1 year away from being 100. And so the chances of me, based on my health decisions and things like that, will probably live, into my late 80s or 90s, whatever. And the key portion of your life, your key your key, working area is between the ages of, 30 and 60, right? That's when you do the majority of your work. It's a key part of your life. And for that period, I had this organization, the Sajmark organization. I'd go to these gatherings, and I had the ashram, and I had the sittings I could get, and all these things. And it was something that I thought was going to be there even more so when I got older. Like it was my support system. And, I don't have even contact with my kids anymore. My one son, he just moved out, and he said he was going to, stay in touch. And, we weren't very close, but we weren't, it wasn't an adversarial type situation. But the rest of it has been like, all that whole part of my life has just disappeared. It's gone. And this organization and the services offered, that were presented by the organization, the spiritual sittings and the things that you got and going to the ashrams were, they were miraculous. They were like something it was like, well, I could never live without that. I mean, the whole time in India's a tough place to live for a variety of reasons, but being around the ashrams was great. Like I didn't want to leave. And when Master Charji was here, the third master of the system, I mean, it was just amazing. And being able to spend time with him and the energy that he exuded, was just something that, all right, this is going to be here for the rest of my life. That's what I was, we all believed. And then when Daji crapped out and did this heartfulness bullshit thing, and that all ended. And whether, I could still go to those ashrams, I could go back and do heartfulness and go to those ashrams, but the energy wasn't the same. Like it's not the same, so it wouldn't matter. Like it's, the places are there and the people are there, but it's not the same. The energy's gone out of it, so it doesn't matter. Like either way, I've lost it, right? Like it's, these people who are still doing it are still, they don't want to go off on their own. They don't want to form a direct connection like I did and do the gratefulness meditation. I realized the organization and the heartfulness bullshit and Daji were blocking what I used to have. And so I had to go get it. Like I had to go on my own and do it direct connection, which has been great, but still it isn't the same as it was. It's the connection's there and the energy's there. And I've been able to recreate some of it on the gratefulness meditation for people to experience, but it's not the same as going to gatherings and these other things that were so important. Like they just, there's pieces that are missing. Certainly the master of the system, someone who exemplifies the pinnacle of spiritual human achievement, and the energy and the condition and the example that person sets. It gives you like something to achieve yourself, somebody who represents the goal that you're trying to achieve, that you're working to achieve. And so, he died, and there was a huge part of it. Like there's three things in the Sajmark system: the master, the mission, and the method. And the master and the mission are gone. There's just the method. And that's great. It's a third of what it used to be. And, I've done my best to, like I said, I'm doing these sittings and I still feel the energy and I'm still, everything's like the same. And I've been able to raise my level of commitment, my level of participation. Like I have to be better and I have to, make the connection myself without the help of the organization, these things. So it's helped me in some ways. There's benefit to it. But, there's things that are missing that I thought were always going to be there. And so there was this other piece to it. So I was in India, and my family and I had, were there. We had just sold our farm, and I had all this information, like a research project we had done. And it was valuable, but nobody in the mission really. Some people did, but most people didn't. Or he didn't even understand it. And I wanted to present it and see if anybody was interested. And plus, I was on the verge of this YouTube channel popping, and I had information that I present here that you guys who like this channel benefit from. And I'd hope that this community, these people, would also benefit from it because it's tied directly to the Sajmark teachings. It's based in Sajmark teachings. But the people just they don't read the books, or they don't get it, or some of them are they're doing other things, they're mixing things, they don't really understand the Sajmark teachings and philosophy. They participate, but they're not really, they're not into it. It's not their thing, whatever. Or whatever they're scared of the prophecies and the other things that are about it. They don't want to be about that, so they don't want to change, But I met some young people there. There's a group of Indian people. There was a girl from Germany who was like 25, and she was into some truther things. And, the farming and things like that she was interested in. And there's a young woman who worked with my ex on publishing. She was somebody who was around Dodgy quite a bit. And she read my book, The Choice, and she was like interested in the whole thing, like really into it. And then immediately stopped being it. And I realized from an interaction I had with Dodgy that he had talked to her. She must have talked to him about the stuff that was in my book, and he tried to make it about me being mentally ill. Like, like he's such a sheeple piece of shit. Like he's just so dumb and so, so mainstream. And I didn't know that at the time. Like it just, I mean, I kind of sensed it, and from the interaction what we had, that they had talked, and he would try to make it about me being crazy because of what he said. Like he misread my spiritual condition, trying to make it like I was, like they always say that, people in the truth community are crazy or crazy. They try to make you crazy because they're fucked up, right? And they're doing fucked up shit, and they won't see the truth. And so that was like the beginning of the end. Dodgy turned out to be a corrupt, like criminal fucking, financial. I mean, they have a fraud suit against their pharmacy, him and his kids. That is, $180 million of investor money that they pilfered. There's an SEC report. They created this pharmacy during COVID where they came together with other pharmacies. The Comlish was the owner of 7 pharmacies in New York. And him and his kids created this pharmacy, and then they got investor money. They lied about their earnings with, other people are implicated. And there's this filing, investigation. These guys have absconded with $170 million of investor money. Like this is like, big time fucking financial crimes and shit, right? Amongst other unspiritual and like criminal and, if not criminal, just seedy shit that Kamlish and his cronies are involved in. And his biggest crime is that he hated his spiritual master, who, he's his successor, and he's done everything as possible to shit all over Master Chargy's legacy, which is just unheard of, and it should be a red flag for all these people. I said this over and over again. These people, many of them, when Chargy would leave, they would weep. Like when he went away, or he, visited, or they were leaving India and they'd be on the plane weeping. They talk about how much they loved him, and every second that they could spend time with him. And then when he died and Dodgy just shit all over his legacy, they were like, okay, cool. Like they couldn't fucking believe it. Like they're just pieces of shit, right? All these people, like just fucking embarrassing. Like not all of them, but many of them, just that's how they were about it. And so I had this thought about this young woman who had read my book, The Choice, and she's educated, and Dodgy got her involved in that Brighter Minds scam. Like she hosted a thing where they rolled out some Indian actor who had been in he's an American Indian, but he was in a few Bollywood films and some other things, and he came out, and he's a paid spokesman. Like people can, they bought him to come in and promote this shit, right? Which is another total fucked up thing that's unspiritual and not a Sajmark thing. And she hosted it, and she's smart enough to know that it's fucking bullshit, right? That kids can't see through, blindfolds. I mean, kids are peeking through blindfolds, pretending to smell colors and see with their sense of touch and things because of this, Brighter Minds midbrain activation scam that's a proven scam, right? And so I thought about, like, how does somebody like that who's American, like sort of feminist, educated, grew up in American suburbs in California, whatever, somebody who's educated and smart, and how do they fucking lie to themselves to to go along with it. I'm like, do they have any self-doubt? Does this woman have any self-doubt? These people like her. And the Dodgy Truther sent me a video clip of Dodgy from YouTube. I hadn't seen him in about 6 months. And so, and I saw that he had this thing they call Dill C, where they bring in local centers, like local, places, cities that were all on this like Zoom call. One would be like Los Angeles. There's a bunch of from Connecticut. And this young woman was hosting it. She's not young anymore. She's in her 40s now. And she's hosting it. And she's, and he says her last name with a G on it. And I'm like, how does she fucking do this? Like, Dodgy's just really stupid. He says stupid shit. He's like retarded. He's just like really dumb. Like at this point, he's goofy. And like, I'm like, how do these people go along with this stuff, right? There's no doubt. And I know that she had problems with the Heartfulness YouTube channel because it was atrocious. And somehow she had contacted me, and she was friends with my ex, so it wasn't like I was very wary of interacting with her and any of these people. It's like when I was on my way out anyway. Like I was just a year away from breaking ties with the whole thing completely. And I sent her a voiceover about all the issues that some of you guys had and what I had with the YouTube channel, and why it was bad, and some of the other things that I knew just from being doing this as a job, right? Knowing things about YouTube that other people would know. And she said she couldn't listen to the voiceover because she had young kids and she didn't have time. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I don't care. Like, I'm just, you asked me for help, like whatever. Like, but she was having some doubts about there's people that were all kind of freaked out about how things were going. Many of them are like, they're meditating on Sharaji's form instead of, they won't quit and they won't seek to do it on their own. And some of them are intimidated by there's people kind of thugs now involved and all these things, but none of them have really figured out what to do. They haven't figured out they have to break free from it. I've done better than all these other people. Some of them I don't know what they've done, but the majority of them, they're suffering, or they've either just willfully and joyfully went along with Dodgy's fucking corruption and has turned this thing into a cult for dumb fucks. Like a dumb fuck cult, and shitting all over the past and just wrecking the whole thing. And they don't care about it, and they're just, they're getting their little piece of the pie or whatever they're getting. They'll get a position in the mission, or they'll just, they're superficial people, narcissistic people they don't really get the spiritual stuff the way that they should. The purity of the spiritual system the way it was before. And then there are people who are miserable and they love Chargy, and they see that there's changes and they just won't say anything, and they just, they're coping whatever way they can, and they've all failed, right? They haven't figured out what to do, and it's like, every once in a while this comes up for me, and I realize, like, this whole thing, like I realized the loss. There was something that I lost, right? There was something that I thought was going to be there, especially as you get older. The ashrams and things, and people, live around the ashrams, and it's kind of a support system for the older generation, and you're focused mostly on your spiritual life as your body's breaking down and you're getting ready to leave this world. And like, I don't have that now. It's just gone. Like, I don't have any contact with any of these people. Like, there's nobody I have. There's one guy who listened to my videos, and we talk every 3 or 4 years. Like, we've had like 3 conversations, and he who listened to my videos and contacted me, and he was having similar problems, but he was trying to figure it out. And I don't know what he ended up doing, but it wasn't the Gratefullness stuff, which is fine. I was like, whatever. But there was this great thing, and it's just disappeared. Like, it fucking was here, and now it's gone. Like, it just, it's like went out of business. And it's, it's a bummer, but it is what it is. All right. So here is the rest of the video. There's various voiceovers from my other videos, and let's get into it here. Anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.